Welcome to Boots in Baltimore. I'm Leanne Blanchard. I'm here with Nancy Hotchkiss, Site Director of Scrap BMore. Welcome.
Well, welcome. Thank you, and welcome to our store.
I've never been here before, and I'm so distracted because there are so many really super cool things
It
here.
is shiny object syndrome in here because it is like your craft room on steroids, and there's a lot of bouncing around, people going ooh, 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 and our storefront is really only 1,000 square feet, but people spend hours in here.
I may never leave. So, tell us what Scrap BMore is and how it came to be.
So Scrap BMore, we are a nonprofit creative reuse center. We're part of a network that has 4 locations around the U.S., started in Portland, Oregon about 28 years ago. There are creative reuse centers all over the U.S. This just is one model. So we've got Portland, Ann Arbor, Richmond, and Baltimore. We're the Scrap Creative Reuse team. There are other creative reuse centers nearby. There's Lancaster, there's Alexandria has one. I think I'm blanking, but there's a bunch of them around. So we're a nonprofit. We have 3 prongs to our mission. What's really important to us is about sustainability, keeping things out of the landfill, creativity, just encouraging people going, you could try that, sure, why not? And then accessibility. And for us, that means not only the pricing, but the location. In Baltimore, you'll hear a lot about people talking about grocery deserts. I actually feel like there's craft deserts in the city. If you wanted to get some materials and you don't have a car, where are you going to go? Dollar stores have some items, but not a lot. Not a lot that's affordable.
Yeah, and not everything.
No.
Not all the stuff.
No.
And
it's
you
here.
have all the stuff. More stuff than anybody ever knew
No.
existed.
It's a never-ending stream.
Whew. Oh, I'm like out of control. So, what do you do with those scrap donations? So you're getting stuff from people.
Yeah. All of these donations, all the materials that you see, these came from homes. We don't hit up businesses at all. This is just, as I say, America's kind of buying problem. We all acquire a lot, and we're reticent to let it go. And then when you finally get to that point, it's just, here, take it. So the sales of these materials, we're a self-sustaining nonprofit, so the sales help pay for our rent, pay for our utilities, pay for the amazing salaries that we have. We're mostly volunteer driven, but it keeps us going. And we want to make sure that everything is affordable. We look at whatever price it might have been retail and do it at a third. So again, cost should not be in the way of being creative.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Thank you.
So, for me, it's nice to know that something like this exists because there are times that I have stuff that not only did I invest money in it, but I also invested my hopes and dreams that it could be something amazing.
Yes.
And that's why it's so hard to let go, right? It's hard to give up the dream or acknowledge that you will never in a million years get back to this project that has plagued you and supplies that you have dragged from house to house to house multiple times. It's hard to let that stuff go, but if you know that it's going to a good home, if you know that somebody's actually going to use it, if you know that you are, like you said, keeping stuff out of the landfill, but also encouraging other people in your community, helping kids, helping...
Yes, part of our conversations that we have with people when they're talking about donations, we realize it's a little bit of social work because you need to give people assurances, like you said, this is going to be used by somebody who could not have afforded it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that is sometimes the conversation we're having with people when end of life, if somebody has passed away and they are bewildered by what was left in the house and they're just going, what do I do? So we can walk them through, we can't take everything, but there are other reuse centers in the city. There's Second Chance, there's Loading Dock, there's also Community Forklift in Silver Spring. There are other places where you can bring materials. Baltimore actually has so many places you can take things that you really don't need to put stuff in the landfill. We want to talk to people and have them feel better. We had one gentleman who, after his wife passed away, realized there were craft supplies in the garage, her craft room, the attic, everywhere. They took
stashed under the bed.
Shrink packs, vacuum them down, you can slice them in. It took 5 months for him to get everything here, but you could tell by the end he was feeling so much better knowing someone is going to use this.
And I think people don't realize how much lighter they feel afterward.
Yeah.
Because clutter does weigh on your soul. Seeing unfinished things, having open things that kind of niggle with a little bit of guilt attached.
Yeah. I had one woman who brought me this gorgeous bolt of fabric she was going to use for draperies, and she said, this was going to be for my craft room before my daughter was born. She's 12 now. I'm going to let go of that dream. Somebody else will be able to pick up your dream.
Yes.
And that, I kind of like that all of these things do have some humanity in them, These buttons came from somebody's grandmother, or this fabric came from a student who was learning how to sew. So,
yeah, there's some soul in all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I love it. So, when can people shop or drop off donations?
Sure. Shopping, we're open Wednesday through Sunday. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're open from 12 to 6. Saturday, we're open from 10 to 6. And then Sundays, 12 to 5. Right now, we take donations 2 days a week by appointment, Fridays and Sundays. We have to regulate how much is coming in. You can't just take everything. And we want to walk people through. It would be irresponsible of us to just take every single thing, knowing that a lot of it would end up in the trash, or we would be diverting it to some other place. So we walk people through the process, tell them what we can take and can't take. And, but you never quite know, like when somebody says, I'm bringing you some fabric, and then they back up a U-Haul. So I'd like to talk to America about our math skills. Thank you.
It's maybe a little bit more than some.
Some, yeah.
So there are lots of things that you can't take, but what are things that you need the most?
Fabric is always needed, and it's kind of our biggest seller, because if you look around Baltimore City, in the county, where are you going to buy fabric? And buying fabric online, and I know a lot of people have really converted their shopping habits to online, these are things you really want to touch. The quality's not going to be the same.
And see in light.
Yes. Yeah, as opposed to just going, okay, boom. So fabric, yarn is another big thing for us. And again, we take all sorts of yarn. It's, this is not the higher end stuff. It's the acrylic yarns that Grandma was making Afghans with. We take jewelry making and broken jewelry also, because we can, the jewelry components. We actually make these great little things called magpie jars, which are jars full of broken jewelry, shiny objects. And that's exactly it. People go, whoa, we are all magpies.
I could do something with that.
Yes. And then fine art supplies are always great. Paints, used canvases, charcoals, brushes. Realize we're very close to Micah, to the art college, and we have students in here all the time. School is expensive, supply shouldn't be so much.
How does Scrap BMore support, speaking of education, how do you support education programs?
We are one of the smaller ones in the Scrap network. The other sites are bigger than us, and they actually have a separate classroom facility. Ooh. We do not. We actually have worked with getting grants to do free community programming. And we're just finishing up one series now that we've been running over the summer. Then we're looking at where we would go for fall and winter programs. Just follow us on either Instagram or go to our website or our Facebook page. Now to let you know, we try and post there a lot about what programs are going on. The kind of things that we're looking at doing are things that are skill building, like learning how to knit, learning how to crochet. We realize that these are just little snippets, but it's just to get people excited about it. The community aspect of it, which we love, is just getting people from the neighborhood together. They hadn't met each other, and you watch them kind of bond and go, oh, you coming next time? You coming next time? Yeah. Yeah, which is nice. So those are the kind of things that we're looking at.
So I think that's really important. I was in a 4-H group when I was a little girl. And to this day, I can hot glue without burning the ends of my fingers off. What? Like I've got mad skills.
That's a skill.
It cost some serious pain when I was 10 to 13. But those are skills that last for life.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You never know.
The other thing when you're talking about supporting education, right now, because it's August, we're getting teacher packets together. We are going to be distributing, fingers crossed, about 100 bags full of free arts and crafts materials that teachers will be able to sign up to get one of the bags. We did it last year, and it was the year before, and it's just, it's a bag of this. So you're not getting, it would be great for a teacher to use to set up, say, a makerspace in a corner of their classroom. You get kids that are either distracted or they just need a little thing over there. It's like, go over to the makerspace, go hang out over there and do something.
And in Baltimore schools, there just isn't budget.
There's not. We do partner with a couple of the other arts-friendly groups. There's Art with a Heart, which is another group that does lots of work with the city schools, and Arts Every Day is another group that we started working with, which has helped us do teacher training programs. I've always believed that that's kind of the wholesale versus the retail. If I can get to 30 teachers, I get to 900 students.
Right.
So we're looking forward to kind of developing those programs. The other area that we've been working with is working with the libraries. Because the libraries are wonderful places for people to do free classes, and we're happy to partner with Enoch Pratt and with the Baltimore County system.
So smart. Oh, that's why I love doing this. I know that you have to measure your community impact because you need grants. So what has been your impact so far?
Well, and we will get a shot of this in the video. We measure things by the weight. As I've become quite adept, I could probably get a job in a carnival because donations come in and we go, how much does this weigh? 35 pounds. I tend to buy dogs. Is it a golden retriever? Is it a beagle? And I know we are at, I think, 173,000 pounds since we opened.
This location.
Just this location, yeah. Which feels really big, and I'm really proud of it, but I also know that, as a city, we're still producing a lot.
Right.
But keeping it out of the landfill and putting it into other people's hands is important for us.
But, when you think pounds, I get that fabric can feel really heavy when you have a lot of it, but you're also giving away things like yarn isn't that heavy.
Yeah.
And,
threads and buttons and
artificial flowers aren't that heavy. Right. And so when you're talking pounds, that's a lot volume-wise. That's a lot of stuff.
It is, yeah. We opened in Federal Hill. We were there for 3 years and then moved over here in 19. And yeah, it's always coming. And people often ask, how do you advertise? How do you let people know? We do not need to advertise.
No.
It's word of mouth. People go, you can go. And actually, we occasionally get customers that, we're like, how did you find out about us? And they go, I was in Michael's Target or Joann's. And I was looking at something and someone came up to me in the aisle and went, you should go to Scrap. Which makes me feel a little clandestine.
But in a good way. In a delicious way.
Baltimore I think that's one of the things I love about Baltimore, which is it's full of little treasures that the best thing is word of mouth.
Yes.
Oh, did you go over here? Did you go over there?
Yes. It's a major metropolitan area, but it's a big little town.
Neighborhoods.
And so that's also how I found out about it. Because there's an immediate kinship when you meet somebody else who does your thing and gets you. Oh my goodness, yes.
And there's so many niches. I'm losing a little bit of the skill, but for a while I was able to really tell what
your craft was.
No, when somebody was walking in, I'm like, Micah, didn't go over there. Walter, go over there.
You really should be in the carnival, but I am curious how I would read what
you would be. You're in the Embroidery Crossstitch group. True, because Embroidery Crossstitch people don't dress way too fanciful. You'll see the women with the scarves and the giant earrings and things, and you're like, oh, jewelry people. Now you're just going to be watching people on the street and going, I know what you do.
I'm so going to be doing that, actually. That's fascinating.
And it is fun watching people wear their art too.
Yes.
Because particularly people that have learned how to sew, and this has been, because, again, Baltimore is a neighborhood city. People will come in and show us, or they'll wear it and you're like, hey, I made this.
Yes.
Which is lovely. It's like, what do you think of my skirt? And I'm like, I recognize the fabric.
I stocked that 3 months ago.
And yeah. Which is lovely. I love that they want to come show us.
Yeah.
There's a connection. We're all looking for that, aren't we?
Yes. And accolades. I also just want props for the things that I've made because they are that good. Just saying. All right. So what do your volunteers do? And what would how could somebody start to volunteer?
Sure. Well, we are so volunteer powered. It started with just me and volunteers, and we've grown enough that I now have some part-time folks, but we have probably about 40 active volunteers We ask the volunteers to do 2-3 hour shifts a month, which is not a lot to ask. Predominantly, our volunteers have come from our shoppers. There are people that just go, can I be around here more? Well, the volunteers help with pretty much almost all of this. I mean, the donations come in and they do the sorting, helping us figure out where things go. They help us identify what things are. They help us make the kits. They come up with ideas for new kits. They talk with the customers, because there are a lot of people that really just want a little guidance or someone else to provide those fun accolades for them, like, what a great idea. You know, everybody needs that, you know? And they also need people to brainstorm with, going, I don't know if that's going to work. What do you think? So a lot of problem solving. And they are all, as I said, they're all crafters. And they're all a little organizational bend. And that's how we manage to create order out of chaos.
Yeah. Not a clean person at all. My embroidery floss is so... Everything is wound
keep that one organized.
precisely. Everything is in numerical order. Everything is... It's just... Yeah.
Yeah, but that's okay. Everybody's like that. You know, they all pick their thing that they're going to be so
Meticulous.
precise with.
Yes, yep. I have found my people.
I'm glad.
Okay, so I can't read you. What is your craft?
Well, when I started this, I will say I'm not artistic. I love to glue stuff together. When you mentioned glue gun, I was like, my dream was I'm going to spend the last 10 years of my work life with a glue gun. And actually, I wanted to have my dog in here, but my dog hates the store, so that ain't going to happen. But I actually picked up knitting, and I like knitting a lot. And I actually like taking things apart now, because people bring things to us like halfway done. And frogging things is so cathartic. You know, it's called frogging because you're ripping it out, rip it, frogging. Okay. A little bit of trivia there. And then coaching people really is what I like to do.
And for someone to rip out what they had stitched is very traumatic. I speak from experience.
Yes.
And so, yes, that is a community service that I think people underrate. I had a friend who we were quilting and I had sewn something wrong, because that happens. She's like, no, let me do that, because I didn't sew it and I don't have any emotional attachment to it.
Very smart.
I don't mind doing it. I'm serving you. You could rip out my thing when I screw up. And it is that kind of mutuality where you help me, I help you, that really does build communities.
We have a gentleman who has brought us knit scarves. His mom has Alzheimer's. And this is one of the things she still does. But just knits obsessively. And he's just handing her the yarn, and it just keeps going and going. And he brings them to us, and then we take them apart. But he's good with that. He's like, just bring it back, you know. And she's still able to do what she wants to do, and then we're able to reutilize the materials. You never quite know it, but the craft things, it's kind of nice to know that the craft thing is still there for her.
Yes, it's so therapeutic. I had a friend who was schizophrenic and had a really hard time riding the bus. And I taught her how to crochet, and that gave her something to focus on down instead of watching everyone else watching her. And so it made her able then to ride the bus. Yeah. And again, people just underestimate the power, the therapy that comes from being creative. It's hugely helpful.
Yeah, I mean, you think about our brains are so wired into our phones now. You know, constantly like this. And doing the arts, doing something creative, even if it's just sitting down and gluing stuff together as a collage, uses a different part of your brain and frees up the other part of it. It is interesting as I watch around the store, I'm not seeing people on their phones so much, unless they're taking a picture and sending it to a friend and going, do you want me to get this for you? Which is, I think, also really good. And you also find people having conversations with somebody that they're just sitting at the table with because they're both looking through something. And that's nice to also community stuff. And you'll see people talking to each other that you would never have thought they would have had a conversation. This is a good safe space for it.
Well, all I have to say is you know who you are. You know that you need to come in. Plan on some time. Because you won't get through everything.
You won't. And we have folks that come in every week. because again, donations come in. You don't know what's coming in the next week. The categories remain the same, but something interesting may come in, and try and post stuff on Instagram to let them know, like, these sewing machines just came in, or this giant easel, which we've got to get out of here because it's 8 feet tall, things like that. There is an object for every person.
All right. Well, I'm going to go find mine. So thank you for doing this.
You're
I really
welcome.
appreciate it. This has been Boots in Baltimore at Scrap BMore. Please come and check it out. Please support it however you can. And I will see you here.
Thanks for coming.